For the first time since 2003, Syracuse stands just one win away from the Final Four. In its way is an Elite Eight date with the second seed Ohio State Buckeyes. Coming up on this special CitrusTV.net exclusive of Cuse Countdown, our analysts will dissect everything you need to know to get you ready for this primetime matchup. It's CC, and it's right now. Hello friends, and welcome inside the Citrus TV studios to Cuse Countdown right here on CitrusTV.net. With Dan Cohen and Russ Reed, I'm Dan Girard, and Syracuse took essentially every punch from Wisconsin, and yet Syracuse is still able to survive in advance.
Whether it's been on the court or off the court, Dan, Syracuse has overcome all kinds of adversity this season, including 14 Badgers threes.
Yeah, and despite those 14 threes, the Orange defense had to step up when it had to, limiting the Badgers to 0 of 5 from beyond the arc in the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, good job by them. And let's see how Syracuse got to this point as we take a look at the East region. For all the upsets that have taken place in this tournament, the East bracket is rather all chalk. The Orange has faced the highest possible seed in every round, including, of course, second seed Ohio State on Saturday. If Syracuse makes the Final Four, one can't argue they didn't earn it. Now, Wisconsin gave Syracuse all they can muster in its Sweet 16 matchup, a 64-63 win for the Orange that wasn't decided until the final second. It was a back-and-forth crisp affair as both teams just turned the ball over 6 times. But don't take my word for it. Coach Jim Boeheim felt the same way.
It's one of the best games I've been involved with in a long time. I think the best game anybody's ever played against us and didn't beat us. They made 14 threes, and usually that's enough. But I'm really proud of our players.
Now, Dan, Russ, it felt like Wisconsin played this game according to their plan. They kept the game in the 60s. They also hit 14 three-pointers. But how was Syracuse able to get the job done?
Syracuse clamped down on the defensive end against the Wisconsin three-point attack. And that last play the Badgers ran at the end of the game that went for the win, Wisconsin tried to run 2 high ball screens, and Syracuse's 2-3 zone just blew that play up. Strong guard play at the top of the zone from Dion Waiters and Scoop Jardine.
And the Orange offense wasn't too shabby either. The Orange shot 56% from the field and had 4 guys in double figures. And that was big for this Orange team going forward.
Well, I touched on those 14 three-pointers that the Badgers made, and the Orange knew what they were dealing with the Badgers' proficiency shooting from outside. 5 players came into this game shooting at least 35% from 3, led by Josh Gosser's 45%. Fortunately for Syracuse, Wisconsin missed its last 5 three-pointers. Also fortunately for Syracuse, C.J. Fair bounced back in a big way.
When I got the easy dunk from Dion, that got me going, and then I hit a baseline shot or something, and from there I knew it was going to be my day, and Scoop did a good job finding me and the rest of my teammates, and Coach kept telling me to just be aggressive.
Now, CJ went 6 straight games without scoring in double figures. You have to go back to the USF game, a 15-point performance against Wisconsin. Do you think he could carry that performance forward?
I think he can, but I'm not exactly sure if he will. You know, C.J. Fair, it was great to see him get his confidence back, get back to the way in that form he was playing with in the regular season, where he was such a spark off the Orange bench. But he's going to run into a red-hot Deshaun Thomas for this Ohio State Buckeyes team. I
think C.J. Fair now in the starting lineup with Fab Melo out for the tournament. I think this game really will help him going forward in terms of his confidence in his mental game. You could see in games in the Big East tournament and the first 2 games of the NCAA tournament, visibly frustrated. He doesn't normally miss free throws, and he was missing those free throws, and he was also missing easy jumpers, those easy shots that he was getting during the course of the season. This will really pay it forward for the Orange.
Seemingly just confidence with C.J. Fair, and the Orange can certainly use C.J. Fair in its Elite Eight matchup with the Buckeyes. The top 2 seeds in the East region will clash Saturday night in Beantown with a date to New Orleans and the Final Four up for grabs. Our own David Guzman is in Boston and tells us about the differing goals between these 2 teams.
Saturday night in Boston, a trip to the Final Four is on the line for both Syracuse and Ohio State. For the Buckeyes, they've made it to 9 Final Fours in the past, but haven't been since 2007, while every Syracuse fan knows that it hasn't been to the national semifinals since 2003. Now, the Buckeyes have said that it's reached its goal of getting past the Sweet 16, while the Orange have made it clear that a national championship is its goal. Here's what both teams had to say about what a trip to New Orleans would mean to them.
It means a lot. It will mean a lot to us. I know for myself, that's what I worked. That's what I came back to school to do to make a Final Four, and to try to, that's one of the things you want as a college basketball player, to get a trip to the Final Four, and we got a chance to do it on Saturday. When we all came back and we got together, it was just we could tell in the off season how special this season could be if we do the things necessary to, become a team. Like Scoop said earlier, just check our egos at the door and become one, and just have one common goal. And we've been doing it all season, and I think now that it's, here, it's reality now. Now we're just continuing with that same mindset.
We're just trying to keep the train rolling, and hopefully we can make it to that spot.
I think the best thing that we can do now is enjoy it together, but understand, it is going to be a basketball game. They're a great team. It's going to take a great team effort from us to hopefully play another game after this.
Jim Boeheim noted that this team has been practicing and playing for the last 6 months to get to this kind of situation, saying there shouldn't be any pressure. Just go out and play. Reporting from TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts, David DeGuzman, CitrusTV.
Thanks, David. Now, Ohio State came into this season with high expectations after first-team All-American Jared Sullinger decided to return for his sophomore year. Sully's been a little banged up this season, but still averaging almost 18 points and 9 boards a game. But Dan and Russ, the Buckeyes certainly aren't a one-man band.
Deshaun Thomas in this NCAA tournament averaging 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 56% shooting from the field.
The lone senior on this team, William Buford, too, usually reliable, but in the last game against Cincinnati, only 4 points on 1 of 8 from the field.
Now, as we welcome you back to the special CitrusTV.net exclusive of Cuse Countdown, Dan Girard, Dan Cohen, Russ Reed will go a little 3 in the key, give you some matchups in preparation for the Syracuse-Ohio State matchup. Tell us who you have. Start off CJ Fair. We touched on that big performance, that bounce-back performance he had against Wisconsin in the Sweet 16. But going up against Deshaun Thomas, who's been rather steady as a sophomore, who do you got?
I have to take CJ Fair in this game. It's really going to help Syracuse on both ends of the floor that Fair is getting his mojo back on the offensive end of the floor. On defense, he really spreads the wings for Syracuse in this zone, collapsing on shooters in the corner. You saw in that Wisconsin game, Syracuse was trapping Wisconsin in the corners, forcing Bo Ryan to call a few timeouts that he didn't have at the end of the game. Syracuse is really going to have that asset with Fair on defense and on offense, replicating that performance against Wisconsin. I'm
going to have to go with Deshaun Thomas here. This guy's a double-double machine, and I think he's the only player CJ Fair might run into so far that can match him in both size and athleticism. And he's not too shabby from beyond the arc either. He's at almost 35% from 3, and I think that could be a backbreaker against this orange zone.
Now, this 2-3 zone is really patted down so far this term, and especially against Wisconsin, against Kansas State, of course. Going up against this Ohio State backcourt, really featured by Aaron Craft, not really a big scorer, but you think the 2-3 zone could give him some fits?
I believe it will. Aaron Craft is known for his defensive prowess. This kid gets steals like nobody's business, but he has been struggling in the tournament lately on the offensive end in terms of turning the ball over. And I think that's where Ohio State could lose the game. If Aaron Craft and William Buford have too many turnovers, they won't be able to take the advantage they have in the front court with Sullinger and Thomas. And I think that with SU getting out in transition and playing their game, I think that could put the Buckeyes behind the 8 ball.
Syracuse has really tightened up this 2-3 zone. You saw against UNC Asheville and even Cincinnati in the Big East tournament. Those two teams really lit it up from three-point land, and Syracuse's guards at the top of the zone have collapsed. They've closed that off. It will cause Ohio State problems on offense.
Just tremendous length from both Trish, Scoop Jardine, Deion Waiters, all of them. Now, last up, of course, the coaches. Thad Matta has really established a blueprint at Ohio State, basically making them a top team in the Big Ten as well as the entire country. Going up against, of course, Jim Boeheim. We all know what he's done. Who do you got in this one?
Jim Boeheim just took his 890th win against Wisconsin. I have to take him in this chess match against a great coach in Thad Matta. Took Ohio State to the national championship game a few years back when he had Greg Oden at the center position, and now he's got Jared Sullinger. But I think Jim Boeheim has this Syracuse team rolling at the right time. That game against Cincinnati really woke up this team. They came out slow to start. Cincinnati took advantage, and now Syracuse is rolling into the Elite Eight. Jim Boeheim has them playing their best basketball at the most important time in March.
Exactly, and even in the most important times in the game. I think Coach Boeheim does have his team focused within the last 2 minutes especially. It doesn't matter whether it's a defensive stop that they need or a big offensive bucket. It seems like Jim Boeheim draws up the right play at the right time to get the Orange in the great position to win the game.
No question about that. As we take a look at what's on the line in Syracuse's Elite Eight matchup with Ohio State, of course, Syracuse is seeking its 5th ever Final Four appearance, its first one since the title year of 2003. After the Orange got its first ever tournament win against a Big Ten foe in Wisconsin in the Sweet 16, SU looks to get win number 2 over the Buckeyes. Now taking a look back at the Syracuse-Ohio State matchup, plenty of X factors to choose from, but who's your one for this game?
I have to take the Syracuse centers in this game. By Keaton, Rakeem Christmas, that platoon at the center position for Syracuse. They're going up against a big body in Jared Sullinger. Sullinger has Christmas by 37 pounds, and he's got Keita by 50. Comparable in terms of height, but Sullinger's big body in the low post is going to give these centers some problems. However, if Keita and Christmas can stay within their principles in the teeth of this zone, I think it will give Sullinger some problems, even though he outweighs them on the scale. I think Syracuse's centers are going to be the key for them in this game.
I think the key is going to be C.J. Fair. I think this great performance against the Badgers, I think that's really important to get him going, because he's going to need to get Deshaun Thomas in foul trouble, and Deshaun Thomas is on the defensive end. And you're going to limit his scoring. It's guys averaging 25 points a game. If you get him on the bench, it certainly helps Syracuse a lot. CJ's got to be able to hit the inside shots, the outside shots, and hit from the free throw line.
All right, guys, moment of truth. Will Syracuse be making it back to the Final Four for the first time since '03, or Ohio State for the first time in '07? What are your predictions?
The last representative in the Big East in this tournament is going to go to the Big Easy. I have Syracuse winning this game 70-64. I think the center matchup does favor Ohio State, but I think Syracuse is just playing so well at so many other positions. Even without Fab Melo, this team has talent up and down the roster coming off the bench. An 8-man rotation, it will be enough to get over Ohio State and into the Final Four at the Superdome.
I can see a defensive struggle here in this game, but I'm actually going to take the Buckeyes 63-61. And I think that the problem is going to be for the Orange late in the game is their lack of ability to hit free throws in crunch time. And I think they might be playing catch-up with the Buckeyes late on in the game, and they're just going to miss few too many from the line to catch up.
I think that sound I'm hearing right now, Russ, is a mob of people, I think, coming after you after hearing that Syracuse will lose this one, according to you. But we'll see what happens there. But that about wraps things up here on Cuse Countdown. Be sure to go to our sports blog at sportsblog.citrustv.net for all tournament coverage, as well as tune in to Orange Press Pass Saturday at 10:30 p.m. on OTN following Syracuse, Ohio State. With Dan Cohen and Russ Reed, I'm Dan Girard. See you next time.